Hey y'all. So I just did a little teaching video about not using the Bible as your basis for your pro-life arguments, and to use the go the route of discrimination and human rights instead. So this is like the part 2 to that video. This I actually break down the arguments, the pro-life arguments based on discrimination. So I don't know if you can see her, but apparently Jesus Kitty has decided she's going to join me for moral support. I don't know. But Senator Schumer said here recently that abortion is a reproductive right. It's a woman's right. And I beg to differ. Abortion is not a woman's right. It's a human right. And that human is the unborn child. Truth be told, abortion is one of the last few, if not the last, form of legalized discrimination on the planet. Abortion is nothing more than discriminating against another human being based on age, location, gender, race, physical, mental capabilities, and manner of conception in the case of rape. So the first discrimination I'm going to tackle here, it's kind of tied together. It's age and location. They're both kind of tied together. And in this instance, you're discriminating against someone based on age. Now, to back the argument up a little bit, I had someone recently say online that an unborn child is not a human being. I'm still trying to figure out how you could pass science class and not know that. Because when you combine a human egg and a human sperm, you get a human being. You don't get a puppy. But so it's a human being from the moment of conception. It's not anything else in there. It's a human being. But abortion is discrimination based on age and location. You wouldn't dream of murdering a child that is 2 months old outside of the womb, because that would be infanticide, that would be murder, and we have laws against that kind of thing. But killing an unborn child that's at 2 months gestation inside the womb, that's legal. It's legal discrimination. They're the same age, theoretically, 8 weeks inside the womb, 8 weeks outside of the womb. But one is murder because it's outside of the womb, and the other isn't because it's inside of the womb. Makes absolutely no sense. A human being is still a human being no matter its location. The DNA is still the same. The same DNA it had at 8 weeks gestation, it's got at 8 weeks postpartum. It's the same DNA. Abortion is also discrimination based on race. African American babies are aborted at a rate that's almost higher than all other races combined. The last figure I heard, and I haven't really vetted this one out, but the last figure I heard was 247 African American babies are aborted per day by Planned Parenthood. Per day. 247. And here's the kicker. This is what really gets me about the whole Colin Kaepernick debacle, fiasco, scandal, whatever you want to call it. Do Black lives truly matter? Or do they only matter when they are outside of the womb? See, Kaepernick has donated upwards of $25 $100,000 to the Center for Reproductive Rights, which is pro-abortion. The real irony of this is Kaepernick was adopted. How much do you have to hate yourself to be pro-abortion and not pro-adoption? He hasn't given one red cent to a pro-adoption group, but he's given more than $25,000 to groups that support abortion. And then we have Oprah Winfrey, whose latest thing is shout your abortion. Why in God's name would you want to do that? Why do you want Black women admitting that they are killing their own race, killing their own offspring? Why should people be proud of that? Why? I don't get it. Abortion is also sexist, but not in the way you're probably thinking. Abortion is sexist because women tell the fathers, your rights don't matter, your opinion doesn't matter. I'm housing this baby for the next 9-10 months. It's my responsibility. You have no voice. Really? That baby, even though you're housing it, has half of his DNA. Again, science. You cannot create another human being without there being a man or a woman together. Now, cloning has come a long way, but we're not quite to where we can grow human beings based on cloning. So, yes, abortion is sexist. It's discriminating against a person based on their gender. You're telling the father they have no rights. Abortion is also discrimination based on gender. If you recall, back before China relaxed their one-child policy, the vast majority of babies that were aborted in China were female. Now, in China, it was possible to get an ultrasound for diagnostic purposes, but it was not possible. Getting an ultrasound in order to determine the baby's gender was illegal, because they found out that women were obtaining these ultrasounds, determining the gender, finding out the baby was female, and then aborting. So yes, abortion is discrimination based on gender. It's sexist. And again, here's the irony. Feminists are literally killing the next generation of feminists. For real. Really. You're fighting to defend the right to kill the next generation of feminists. I don't get it. There is so much epic logic fail. I don't get it. Discrimination. Abortion is also discrimination based on mental or physical capability. The majority of babies that are aborted are diagnosed with Down syndrome. This is discrimination, because just because a person is disabled mentally or physically doesn't mean they can't contribute to society. It doesn't mean that their life isn't valuable. And the argument for this is, well, shouldn't the child be aborted before they're a burden? If they're going to be a burden on their parents and on the insurance and on society, shouldn't we just, end that life now? That makes no sense. Again, we wouldn't dream of murdering a child with cancer. They've been born, they're 10 years old, they've got cancer now. Let's kill them. They're a burden to their parents. they can't afford their treatment, they're maxing out their insurance, everybody else's insurance goes up. We should just do society a favor and kill that child. Well, you can't do that. Well, why not? Well, because they're 10 years old. Doesn't matter. Same logic. This is not slippery slope, by the way. This is just following something through to its logical conclusion. What if that child gets injured in an accident? They're 15 years old and that child is injured in a car accident, is going to spend the rest of its life paralyzed. Shouldn't we kill it? It's a burden. What if that child ends up becoming a drug addict? There we go. Shouldn't we kill it? They're not contributing to society. Shouldn't we kill that child? No matter how old they are? They're a drain on society. They contribute nothing. And we're paying for them to be in and out of rehab multiple times, in and out of jail multiple times. Shouldn't we just execute them? They're a burden. Well, you can't do that. That's murder. What's the difference? What's the difference? You know, and again, as I said, it's not a slippery slope argument. We saw this with in the United Kingdom with the little boy Alfie. He had a condition, and I'm trying to remember here. They basically wanted to terminate his life. The hospital in Great Britain wanted to terminate his life. Said, you know, we're done providing care for this child. He's got zero, you know, hopeful prognosis. Let's just, you know, they wanted to pull the plug, remove life support, and just kill him. I believe they wanted to starve him to death, if I remember right. And the Vatican had a helicopter on standby. Let's take this child to Rome. We'll treat him, you know, no matter what, we'll at least say we tried. And the hospital refused to release him so he could be transported. So if you think that we're really far removed from killing people because they're disabled and they're outside of the womb, guess again. It's not slippery slope. We're already there. So my point is, discrimination, whether inside or outside of the womb, is still discrimination. And then last but not least, the discrimination based on manner of conception. Abortion says that if the child was conceived in rape, you have the right to kill it. Again, still a human being. And you know, we all agree rape is awful, it's horrible. But you're killing a child based on the manner in which it was conceived. The baby didn't cause the rape. The baby's obviously not the rapist. So why kill an innocent party? You know, abortion, the argument is the woman should not be forced to carry her rapist child. The woman lives with the sexual assault whether the abortion occurs or not. It's not like it goes back in time and just erases everything. It's not like the abortion does that. She has to live with that the rest of her life, whether the baby is aborted or adopted or she keeps it. Either way. And true justice would be the rapist gets killed and the baby lives. But pro-abortion people are saying we should kill the baby as well. So it's okay to murder somebody based on the manner in which it's conceived. That's the logical thought process here. A little analogy here, just to drive this home. Let's say there's a courtroom. The criminal is standing there, and I call him a criminal because he's confessed. There's mountains of evidence. They have DNA, fingerprints, video, everything. This guy is guilty, guilty, guilty. And the sentence, it's a life sentence. They're sentenced to death. It's just a matter of time, sitting on death row, waiting to be executed. However, when the time comes for the criminal to serve his sentence, bailiff walks outside the courthouse, sees somebody walking by, happens to be you, snags you up off the street, brings you into the courthouse, brings you into the courtroom, and says, guess what? Judges decided you are going to serve this person's sentence. And by the way, it's a death sentence. Now, if that happened in an actual courtroom, America would be outraged. There would be rioting, all sorts of chaos. But yet we say it's okay to do that to an unborn child. You have to pay for your father's mistake. You have to pay. It makes absolutely no sense. None whatsoever. So, those are my arguments as to why abortion is actually legalized discrimination. And I know in my previous video I said don't use the Bible. But bear with me, we're going to bring Jesus back into the picture here. So, for those of you that have had an abortion, and this sounds really harsh, first of all, there is forgiveness in Jesus. As my pastor always says, there's hope and there's healing. And Jesus offers that. For those of you who have had an abortion and you've never thought about it this way, I hope I've changed your mind and maybe got the wheels thinking a little bit. If you are pro-choice, pro-abortion, and you've never thought about it as discrimination, I hope I've at least planted a little seed in your mind and again gotten the wheels turning. But again, to the lady that has had an abortion and you're struggling and you're feeling guilty and you're hurting, feel free to contact me on private messenger. I won't rat you out. I won't reveal anything. But if you want prayer, contact me. Or if I've made you think, contact me. And I would just like to offer you some words of encouragement. God does not hate your guts. He loves you. He's not mad at you, per se. But he loves you and he wants you to come to him for healing and forgiveness. And so on that, I say have a blessed day, and hopefully I've made you think.